funny side story about kind of that in general. So Becky worked with this guy in a movie called Eddie, and they became good friends. I've
The
met
movie
Eddie
was
a
called
couple
Eddie, or the
times.
guy is called Eddie?
The guy was called Eddie, still is, and
Be a
he
weird
ended
name for a
up.
movie.
I mean,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I've heard weirder names. But so Eddie had a Sprinter van and was like driving. He had to visit some family in Montreal the weekend that we were there for the F1 race. And Becky was supposed to be coming, but then she couldn't because she got that job. And so we had an extra ticket. So we hooked up, and Eddie kind of joined Evan and I, and we had a blast in Montreal. And then he wants to drive from like the East Coast to the West Coast. Basically, he was going to come to the States and maybe come through Indy at some point, but he was on no real schedule. He's sort of just like shooting from the hip and kind of flying, by the seat of his pants a bit. So he texted Becky the other day, and he was like, "Hey, are you guys in Indy?" And she was like, "No, we're out of town, but James is in Ohio." And he was like, "Oh, where in Ohio?" "I'm in Toledo." He's like, "Well, he's in Mansfield for the race." He was like 2 hours away. He's like, "Why don't I just come for the race?" So on Friday, he just like hooked a right and drove to MidOhio, bought a camping spot, and just hung out for the weekend. Living out of the Sprinter van.
And did he love
This
it?
actually,
He absolutely loved it. So Montreal was his. This was so cool. Montreal was his first race of any kind ever. Right? He'd been following Drive to Survive, and whatever. And he obviously knew about IndyCar because of Becky and me, whatever. But so he came to this race, and I was like, I'm very curious to see how your experience was, by the end of it, and comparing the two. So like in Montreal, we had nice, sweet tickets and a great location, yada yada. And in MidOhio, he was parked along the back straight. I introduced him to Joey Molinaro and like his whole crew that was there. He ended up just partying with them all weekend. And
this actually explains a lot. I got a text from my friend Jeremiah, who's also friends with Joey, and he said he sent a picture of a guy whom I've never seen, and was just like,
Eddie.
Hinch left me in charge of Eddie for the weekend. And I was just like, I don't know what any of this means, so I'm just not gonna. I was like, I got a lot going on. I'm just not gonna respond. I don't know how to.
So Eddie texted me after the race. I kind of said our goodbyes beforehand, and then I had to go, and he texted me afterwards. He was like, "Dude, that is such a better experience than Formula One." And I don't even want to say unbiased. If anything, he was biased towards F1 because his introduction to racing was Drive to Survive, and he finished that weekend. He was like, "This was an absolute blast."
We got the Eddie seal of approval. That's what all major sporting series go for.
That's what I'm expecting, a pretty big bump now in attendance and viewership, sponsorship.
No, but I mean, honestly, it's wonderful to hear that, right? Because it's impossible for us to really get that opinion from people who, are introduced to racing now and get to go back to back to kind of two different events, and to actually hear that feedback is cool. And it's what we all believed, right? But we are super biased in a lot of respects. So,
and what helped was MidOhio was an unusually interesting race this year.
Why, James? All right. I have a little bit of a time limit, so let's get to an Ask Alex and get the hell out of here.
All right. All right. We have I like this one. Okay. Actually, just a quick note on Ask Alex. I don't work for NBC. I don't get to decide things. You guys can stop telling me that they go to commercial too much. You can stop telling me that you don't like how their audio is. I'm not going to do anything with that info.
Hey, I will address the audio one because we get it all the time. The audio that comes out of the truck at the track is perfect. It gets distributed to a bunch of different towers and buildings and whatever to local markets, and they remix their own stuff sometimes. And so I don't know why that's how it works. We brought this up to like our people like that work at the track, that work for NBC, and they're like, it's not us. It goes out. Your microphones are all fine. The noise level to the engines is the way it should be. And then it gets distorted somewhere. So if you want to complain, find your local like NBC distributor or whatever and write them a note. Okay, sorry.
The important thing is it's not me. I'm not your local NBC affiliate.
Flood Tim's inbox
I like legitimately
anything.
not only just these emails for the Ask Alex, which I guess they could think that you guys read
TikTok,
too. I
guys.
get DMs. I get DMs on Twitter about NBC broadcasts. It was like, why'd they go to commercial there?
9 minutes over when I should have been done with this. TikTok.
Okay, sorry. I work on the NHRA circuit.
We don't need to read the whole thing. All right, there's this guy. He works on the NHRA circuit, right? He's on the road a lot. Their schedule's wild. It's kind of like the motorsport version of baseball, right? They're always traveling all over the place. Crazy schedule. Hats off to those guys. God bless them. He likes a girl, it would seem, that also is a part of that group. And his concern is people say, oh, don't date coworkers, don't date kind of people that you're have a working relationship with. His argument is, A, she doesn't work for the team that I am employed for. She works kind of on the series side of things. And also, like, we have the same schedule, which seems like that would be a plus, where you travel to all these cities together so we could kind of like explore and see the country.
They live in different cities.
They live in different cities. This is a way for them to hang out and kind of have a long distance relationship, but not really, because they're both on the road together on the same schedule. So it's like, should you do it or shouldn't you do it? I would say 100% do it. I was at a wedding a year and a half ago with one of my mechanics who was marrying a woman who worked in the IndyCar series. And they had been dating forever. And that was one of their like great things with their relationship was, yes, they were kind of traveling and working, but like on the evenings and the mornings and stuff, like they had their significant other there, and it really built their relationship and formed their bond. And it was an amazing thing. I have another example, an old PR person of mine just married a mechanic for another team. So I think has a really high success rate. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think you should do it.
Get after it. 100%.
Go ask her the hell out.
These series they're like a circus. It's all the same people going all the same places. Why wouldn't you? You're never going to find.
It's understanding the schedule, right?
Schedule.
No one else is going to understand what that schedule is like, and it is. It's a grind. It's crazy. So, and it's so much worse for that series than even is for IndyCar, and it's a grind for us. So, roll the dice, buddy. Ask her out, and then
let us know how it goes.
Yeah, no, we're great guests at wedding, as we've already covered in other episodes.
We'll bring Joseph too.
Yeah, Joseph can come. Yeah.